Hey everybody, welcome to A Craft With Me Sunday. Today we are going to make a paper lantern. They're so fun, so cute. I will link where I got my paper lantern template down below. I'm going to make a Disney Tangled theme paper lantern. So all I'm going to do is upload it. It should be right in here. Just have to find it in all of my lovely SVGs and other things that I've uploaded. Here it is. So this one isn't going to give us an option to save it as a print and cut or just a cut or whatever. This one automatically, because it's an SVG, is a cut. So we're going to go ahead and save it. And we're going to wait because it does take a minute, and then we're going to go ahead and insert the image. And as you can see, it has inserted our image. Now, it defaults to a specific size of 7.5 by 10.25. You can make this larger if you have larger paper, but remember the largest you can go is 11.5 by 11.5. So I'm going to do it a little bit smaller than that. This one's a pretty simple tutorial just because, for Cricut anyways, because you can just download these templates. You can get them on the Cricut Design Space. You can find them on Pinterest, Etsy. This one was actually free, and like I said, I will link this one below. She's got lots of really great Disney ones. I'm going to do this in a real pretty gray, and then I'll show you guys everything that we'll need to make this, and I will show you guys cutting it, but we're going to go ahead and click Make It, and make sure that it does, in fact, fit on our mat, which it does. We're going to go ahead and click Continue. And then from here, I will show you guys it cutting it, and then we'll go through assembly. So for our next step, we're going to need our Cricut scraper. And I usually have a bone folder. And what I always try to do is peel the paper away from the mat. So I'm going to flip my mat over, and I'm just going to kind of push my mat back. And I don't like to peel the edge off of it yet because it gives you a little more to grab onto. And this is where your Cricut scraper is going to come in handy, because we're going to go ahead and just gently make sure all of our pieces are coming up. If the little tiny pieces like the edges of the sun don't come off, that's okay. We'll scrape those off at a later time, no big deal. But you just want to kind of push it through so that it does peel all of your parts off. And like I said, it's okay if some of the little stuff sticks, because then it just saves us having to try to peel it off the big part. So we're going to get this all off of our sheet here. And like I said, I use the heavier cardstock. I don't really recommend doing these paper lanterns with the thinner stuff because it's just a little bit flimsy, especially with these slightly more intricate cuts that it does. This one has little stars and moons and suns that it cut out, so it probably would rip them when it's trying to cut through. I have found a few times here and there it will rip them anyways, and it's just a matter of playing with your Cricut. Okay, so we got it off. See? And it just leaves a few like little dots and things on there, but that's fine. We'll take those off later. I'm not worried about them. So now I'm going to flip this back over the right way, and I'm going to take off the outer excess piece. I always hold on to my excess pieces because sometimes you can use them for other projects. And then all I'm going to do is just come through, and I find it easier to pop as much of this off the mat as I can, just because it's easier to see and you're less likely to rip it. You will find that it doesn't always cut 100% through, and that's okay. Just real carefully kind of pop it off. You just want, like I said, you want to just be careful because there's a lot of small, intricate pieces. So I got kind of all the big stuff off. So what I want to do is sometimes I will use either my bone folder or I will use my weeding tool, and I will just go through and maybe poke out some of these smaller pieces just to get them out of the project. This one, like I said, doesn't have a ton of little stuff. I picked a slightly less intricate design. I did a Beauty and the Beast one. I have not assembled it, and I will show it to you. That one was definitely a long cut. That took probably 15 minutes to cut on my Cricut. it was definitely an adventure. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the piece of wax paper that's going to go inside of our lantern to give it kind of a frosted look. So the easiest way to do this is I put it on custom setting on the dial, which is right here, and the custom's this one right on the side. So I put it on custom setting, and then I put wax paper down as my option. And then this one, you want to make sure you press the wax paper down really good because it is very, very thin. So we're going to go ahead and do that. It's pressed down really well. I'm going to go ahead and load. And then I'm going to go ahead and tell it to cut. And I made the wax paper the size of the inside of this so that it will cut it in just the right size that we need. So it's going to go ahead and cut my wax paper. Again, beware, wax paper very, very thin. So make sure that you have it set on the custom setting or you're going to cut your mat. I did cut my wax paper a tad long, but it's fine. Again, that's why I use wax paper, because it's super cheap. So we're going to just go ahead and peel it off. Throw the extra away. I apologize for my barking dog. She's very loud sometimes. And then all you have to do is just like with your regular, cardstock. This one you don't have to be too careful with because it's just wax paper. And we're just going to peel it off of our mat. So the next thing we're going to do is actually take our wax paper and we're going to glue it to our paper lantern, which I finished weeding. So that's completely ready. So let me move you over here so y'all can see. So here's our weeded mat, and I've got some little pieces of paper stuff floating around. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to lay our wax paper down, just sort of make sure it fits, which as you can see, it fits just fine. So I'm just going to use a hot melt glue gun, and all I want to do is just take a couple small dabs, and of course it's stuck in something. I just want to take a little bit of hot melt glue, just a little. I mean, I'm talking like a little dot, and then sort of wipe it around so that it's not a big blob. And lay your first part of your paper down. Make sure that you have it lined up pretty well. And you should be good. And hold that down. I do find if you don't go quickly, it does not stick because you use such a little amount. So sometimes I have to come back under it and just re-stick it. Be careful not to burn your fingers, which let me tell you, I have done more times than I can count. And we're just going to go ahead and put a little dab right here again. And hold that dab down just to make sure it sticks. And then the only other place I usually put a couple dabs is I will put some on each of the edges here just to hold it down a little bit, just so it's not going to bow. So I'll do that one first. Oops. And we'll just press it down. Sometimes you have to readjust your wax paper a little bit because it does tend to wrinkle, and I have to readjust this one. Nice things with the wax paper too, unlike the vellum, if you mess up, you can just peel it right back off of your wax paper, or your hot melt glue. It'll just peel right up. This one just wrinkled a little bit, so I'm just going to add a little line of glue right there, and we're just going to lay our wax paper down on it. And I'm going to do another little line right next to the next window so that it holds onto that window. We'll just press it down. And this I like to kind of roll along as I go so that it's nice and flat. So we'll just keep kind of rolling along here, putting our lines down. Just keep pushing and pressing. And then this one I'm going to go up a little higher because we've got pictures down here at the bottom that should hold it pretty well. So we'll just roll it down to here. Like I said, be careful not to burn your fingers. Hot melt glue can be pretty toasty. And then we're going to give one last final blob down here at the end. This one I'm going to use my bone folder just so I can make sure it's really secure down here at this end. Then I'm going to secure it up here on this top corner because it's going to roll if I don't. So you just want to make sure that your wax paper or your vellum is held down pretty well. And again, you can use your bone folder to push it down just so you don't burn your hand. So that's what it'll look like from the outside. So it's pretty fun. You can clean up any like these little glue blobs that you might have, because I tend to get a couple glue blobs here and there. So next thing we want to do is we need to fold our lantern up so that it will all stick together and make the square. So I always start on this side right here, because you can just fold this whole part over, and you just want to carefully with your fingers kind of line it up and make sure it's nice and even with the bottom, because if you don't, your lantern will be a little wonky on the bottom, but that's all right. So just make sure it's nice and even down here, and come back over here. And what I do is I just press it from the bottom while holding over here to make sure it stays straight. And then this is where you want to use your bone folder, because you want really nice, crisp lines. Sorry, my neighbors are having an open house, of course, on their home. So there's people coming and going, and my dog doesn't like it. So you do that on your first one. So you see you have a nice crisp line. Next thing is the second one from the end here, this last one. We're going to do that same thing. We're going to fold it, and we're just going to do it real careful. And we want to make sure that it lines up right on the bottom, again, nice and straight and even. And we're just going to press it. And again, use your bone folder, or you can use a pencil or a pen. Anything really that'll just kind of make a nice, crisp line. But I like my bone folder. I got it for a couple dollars at the craft store. It's just in the paper crafting section, so it's easy to find. You can find them on Amazon as well. So you're just going to do the last one here. Just going to do that same thing. You're going to try to keep it real even, and you're going to just press it so that it's holding even with the bottom. And this one's going to have a little extra edge to it, because you'll see when we go to put it together, when we assemble, it's going to need that little extra piece on the edge. I don't think this one's really even. This one slid a little bit, and that's okay if they slide a little. Just, you can fix it. You just need to hold on to it and kind of press this edge a little bit more. This last one is always a little bit tough for me to get, just because it's got this piece here, which is hard to work with because you can't quite see the edge. That's fine, that'll work. Okay. So our next and final folds are going to be these little tabs, because they need to fold up. So you're going to need to fold them up so that they can attach to here. So we're going to go ahead and just fold them up. And the easiest way to do that is, you see how they have these little indents? You're going to just sort of try to line up your fold so that it's not pulling up the other edge. And again, just use your bone folder. So we're going to bone fold that one, and you can pull it back down just to get it out of your way. And then you want to do the next one. And like I said, these are all pretty simple little parts. And then you want to pull your last side up, and you're just going to bone fold it again. And then I like to just give it a little extra, just make sure. So our final step to making this is going to be putting a little bit of hot melt glue on this fold here. And so you're going to go ahead and put some hot melt glue right there on that fold. Doesn't have to be a ton. And then you want to push this up, and you want to line it up with this side. So you want it so that it's lined up. Just hold it for a minute. It should dry fairly quickly. It's hot melt glue, so it's not super, it doesn't take super long. Then you're going to want to do this side right here. And we're going to just little hot melt glue on that side. And then you're going to fold this piece in so that it matches up to this side. So we're going to have a nice, and a lot of times with this, it's easier to lay it on the table and press it down. Now this side, you're going to need 2 pieces of hot melt glue. I didn't fold this yet, and I try not to, just because I like to see a little bit better where it lines up, because sometimes it doesn't line up perfectly. So I'm just going to kind of mush him out of the way for a second, because you'll see right here is where we're going to need to fold just a little bit, just so that this right here, this side, has somewhere to stick to. So I'm just going to fold him up a little bit. And I will say that this does take a little bit of practice because you do have some hot melt glue in the way. You do have the whole lantern in the way. I just don't like to fold it first. A lot of people do. For me, I just think it lines up a little bit better if you don't. So we're going to go ahead and fold that. So now what you want to do is to close off your lantern, you're going to do that same thing. A hot melt glue line right here and a hot melt glue line right down here. And you can reach inside your lantern to press these. It's just a lot easier to do it. Again, though, watch your fingers because the hot melt glue can get a little rough. So you just want to push it and pull it until it's all matched up. And I will say sometimes, like for instance, like we can see where we didn't get enough glue on our wax. Sometimes I just have to add a little bit just to hold it down. Sometimes when the hot melt glue from the underside gets a little bit warm, and it does this with the vellum sometimes too. If the hot melt glue from the underside gets a little hot, it'll remove your hot melt glue from your wax paper or your vellum. It's just one of those silly things that it does, and I don't know why. So there is our finished paper lantern. These do take a little bit of practice. The more you do them, the more intricate designs you can make. You can do lots of fun things with them. I've seen the girl that has these, she's got a really pretty Beauty and the Beast one, which like I said, I've cut. I just haven't assembled yet. I can show you that. I just have not assembled it yet. I'll lay it down here so you guys can see. This one is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's got the rose, the ballroom, and then there's Beauty and the Beast dancing. I can hold it up a little bit. I have not finished this one. This one I want to do with like a silver inside, so I just need to get some silver. This was a really long cut. This one did take a while. This one was obviously a little bit faster. I sped it up for you guys in the video, but there it is. And all you can do, you can add, always only use a battery-powered candle. Never, ever anything else. All you do is put a little battery-powered tea light in there, and you have a lovely little lantern. Please subscribe to my channel. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I put out new videos all the time. I am always happy to give you guys tutorials on how to do different projects. If you're looking for a specific project, please let me know. But here is our finished tangled paper lantern.